The cartographers reckoning they laughed me out of the International Geological Conference. Not just chuckles, full, belly-deep guffaws that echoed off the marble halls. My presentation on subterranean aquifer mapping was supposed to be the next big thing, but Dr. Langford, my former mentor, stood up mid-sentence and said, "Clara, your ideas are antiquated. Get your head out of the dirt and back to real science." My own sister whispered to her colleague, loud enough for me to hear, "She's always been impractical. Dad said she'd end up living in a cave." That's where I went. Not the caves themselves. I'd grown up in a rural town where limestone caverns were just tourist traps. But I'd spent nights mapping them by flashlight as a kid, sketching imaginary tunnels in my notebooks when my parents argued about my wasting time on childish doodles. The conference audience saw a joke. I saw the future. Months later, I was broke, sleeping in a tent outside Carlsbad Caverns, begging local guides to let me tag along. My gear was second-hand, my reputation in ruins, but every survey I completed chiseled away at the sneers I'd internalized. "Antiquated," I muttered to myself, rappelling into a sinkhole in New Mexico. Watch me drag the past into tomorrow. It wasn't glamorous. My body ached constantly. I'd wrenched my shoulder twice in tight passages, and my skin was forever streaked with grime. But every underground river I charted, every hidden chamber I mapped, became a thumbtack in my argument. Subterranean cartography wasn't dead. It was dormant, waiting for someone to listen. 3 years into my exile, I got a call from a land management firm in Nevada. They'd heard about my work through a grad student who'd seen my rough sketches online. "We've got 2,000 acres of dead farmland," the CEO said. "Locals say the soil's stripped, the water's gone, but you think there's something else underneath." I spent 6 months crawling through their property, mapping aquifers and forgotten mineral deposits. When I surfaced, I had a proposal: redirect their irrigation using ancient underground rivers I'd identified. They called me crazy. I offered to fund the project myself on credit. It worked. The first season, their barren fields greened. By year 2, they were exporting watermelon to California. By year 5, they'd trademarked the Cavern Ag method, using subterranean data to optimize surface agriculture. Suddenly, I wasn't the punchline. I was the patent holder of a billion-dollar industry. But I never forgot where I came from, or how they'd made me feel like dirt. I returned to my hometown last month for my father's funeral, not to mourn him. He'd been dead to me for years, but because my sister Emma asked. She'd never apologized for her comment at the conference, never acknowledged how her words had festered in my ribs for a decade. I told her I'd come, but I'd stay in a hotel. Then Emma's daughter, Lily, saw my face on a magazine cover in the grocery store. "Mommy, is that Aunt Clara? She's fancy now." Emma froze. The cover photo, me older, lines etched into my face not from bitterness but from squinting at rock strata, standing in a field of solar panels and thriving crops. The headline: "The Woman Who Grew Farms from the Underground Up." That evening, I found Emma in the old house, trembling as she held a letter from my publisher. A book deal. A Netflix documentary crew was interested. She blurted out, "I didn't know, we just thought you'd fail," and then I sat across from her, the weight of 10 years pressing down. "You thought I'd fail," I said softly, "so you made sure I did." My voice cracked. "But I didn't." She didn't speak, just stared at my hands, calloused, ink-stained, undeniably alive. The next morning, I drove past the old family farm. The land had been dying since Dad's death, until I'd secretly funded a project using my techniques. Now a sign read, "Henderson Farm, proudly powered by subterranean mapping technology." Emma stood there, her jaw clenched, watching workers install drip irrigation lines based on my designs. She approached slowly, hands shaking. "I Googled your name," she said. "All those articles, Clara, you saved entire communities from drought." I nodded. "I did," she swallowed hard. "I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Not you proved us wrong, just sorry. It was enough." As we stood there, sunlight glinting off the new irrigation system, I felt something I hadn't in years: peace. Not because I'd won, but because they finally saw it wasn't about winning. It was about digging deeper, past the noise, the laughter, the fear, and finding something worth unearthing. My sister still calls me sometimes now, asking questions about aquifers, about limestone. She'll learn. We all do eventually. Word count: 999.